Thank you all very much for being here today. I've said this before, but from the very beginning of this case, the media's assistance in keeping this case on the forefront of the public mind has been extremely helpful. We can't ever do anything in a vacuum here at the Sheriff's Office. Everything we do is a collaboration with the public, and to that end, you all have been extremely helpful. I wish today I was standing before you to share news that we have found Tricia Todd. Unfortunately, and I think you all know now, that is not the case. Yesterday evening, we arrested and charged Stephen Isaiah Williams, who is Tricia's former husband, with second-degree murder in Tricia's death. The arrest was a culmination of weeks of intense investigation by members of the Martin County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigations Division. I have with me here today the lead detective, Michael Oliver, along with his partner, Detective Dulac, as well as the lead detective sergeant, Jesse Carday, and Division Commander, Lieutenant Mike Dougherty, as well as Assistant State Attorney, David Lustgarten, who's right on my left. The circumstances and evidence, along with Mr. Williams' confession, are comprehensive and lengthy. Please allow me to summarize the case, and then I will be glad, to the best of my ability, to answer questions. Mr. Williams was the last person to report having seen Tricia alive. From the moment of her disappearance on April 27th until Williams' arrest, we have investigated this case on two separate tracks. On the one, we exhausted every lead that might have revealed that Tricia left voluntarily and did not want to be found. Obviously, that was the track we were hoping for. The other track was a full-blown criminal investigation that revealed an increasing likelihood that Tricia was the victim of foul play. Detectives have collected hundreds of hours of video captured from cameras mounted on private homes and businesses near Tricia's home, and in the area we believe Tricia was last seen. We spoke to dozens of witnesses, including Tricia's family members, friends, co-workers, and her ex-husband, Stephen Williams. That investigation took us to Mr. Williams, who last night confessed to having caused Tricia Todd's death and admitted to disposing of her body. He is charged with second-degree murder as well as child neglect and is currently housed in the Martin County Jail on both counts, neither of which have any bond. We will continue doing everything we can and everything in our power to find Tricia's remains. That is now the central and focal point of all our efforts and of the Sheriff's Office. On a personal note, if you'll allow me to say this, on behalf of all of the Sheriff's Office, and I see Tricia's dad here today and her brother, if there's other family members, I'm not seeing them with these lights. I do, David, I wish to express my sympathy for Tricia's mother, her father, her daughter, her brothers, and her extended family. Our goal in every case, every criminal case, is to find justice. And we collectively were hoping for a different result in this case. Although we do have an arrest, we have a long way to go as we prepare for trial, as we continue an exhaustive search. We have done everything in our power, using every methodology known in our industry, to find Tricia's remains. The area is extremely broad, even though on the surface you might say a 15-mile radius is somewhat small compared to the whole of the state. It is enormously difficult to search that much area to find human remains. We are going to now redouble our effort to find Tricia's remains and bring this case to a more complete conclusion. I think with that I'll stop and be glad to answer some questions. And before I open it up for questions, please keep in mind that we are entitled by Florida Statute 119, Public Records, to withhold some information still, such as the content of his confession and some other pieces of this case, because insofar as some of this is still an ongoing investigation, because we're looking for Tricia's remains, I will not be able to answer every one of your questions. Those of you who know me know that when I can, I do answer questions, and when I cannot, I will say I cannot, and no amount of asking me the same question will result in an answer. So with that, I would be glad to answer questions. I'll start over from my right and move this way. Yes, ma'am?
Sheriff, so you said there was about a 15-mile area. Did he give you any indication of where he may have disposed of the body?
The question is, we're talking about a 15-mile area. Did he give us any indication where he disposed of the body? The area is yes and no. He was not as cooperative in that as we thought he could have been. We do feel that we are probably, and based on some circumstantial evidence, which I cannot reveal now, because it will reveal some of our methodologies and some of the things I believe the state attorney would rather us not get into, but because of all those circumstances, we do feel very comfortable based on what he said and some of what he didn't say, along with some of our video evidence and some of what we know. We do think we're within a 15-mile radius. If you take that radius and go out, we can almost eliminate going east from her house because of the Intracoastal Waterway, because of developments. So we're still in the area of Jonathan Dickinson State Park, the wooded area immediately west of where he was temporarily staying.
And are the teams going to be out there today?
They are there now. Actually, today we're just beginning again to relook at all of our efforts. If you look at some of the maps I think we had early on, we broke up that area, which basically our search area hasn't changed, and we think we're right on the money, but we've broken it up into what we call grids, and each grid has been extensively searched. But we are dealing in South Florida, we are dealing with water, we are dealing with animal predation, the elements. Nothing is in our favor now, and time is not our friend. Ma'am?
Can you talk about the circumstances of this confession? I know you interviewed him at least twice in the investigation. Who did he confess to and why now? He
confessed to our detectives, and the reason he confessed now would probably be something we'll find out later if he talks further, maybe during trial. We know from past cases that people's conscience weighs on them. Oftentimes people really want to get something off their chest. Oftentimes people, when they are confronted with what appears to be insurmountable evidence, irrefutable evidence, will go ahead and begin to cooperate, and that's what happened. His cooperation turned into a confession.
Did he willingly talk to the detectives, or were they interviewing him again?
Yes, the question is, did he willingly cooperate with detectives? The answer is unequivocally yes. Prior to arrest, he agreed to cooperate and to talk to us. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any indication now, based on this confession, as to how she was murdered?
Yes, and because of the sensitivity of the case and the likelihood of prejudicing a potential jury, the state attorney has asked us not to reveal intimate details of the methodology other than to say he did confess to causing her death.
Can you tell us anything about how reluctant he was to tell you a location and how frustrating that is when he has confessed to this murder?
So the question was, how frustrating is it that he confessed to the murder but yet did not cooperate fully in where her body was? It's enormously frustrating for us. As I said in the very beginning, the cause of justice cries out for the family to know and to have peace of mind and to have a proper burial and to finish off the investigation. So yes, it's very frustrating. It is not unusual. We know in law enforcement, oftentimes people will confess right up to the point of telling us where the body is. That is not unusual. This is not the first time in Martin County that we've had what we call a no-body homicide. We've actually had a couple over the last couple of decades. It is not unusual for cases like this, and the lack of body will not be an impediment to going forward with the prosecution.
Sheriff, I know you said you can't tell us how she was murdered. Can you give us a motive?
Well, the question is, I can't talk about, and you're right, I cannot talk about the methodology. The question as to motive, I think we will not discuss that, other than to say these two people were divorced. There were known issues about money, and if I want to be very careful. I want to be respectful of the state attorney's office. You know, it's one thing for us to finish a case and close it by arrest. It's another thing for our partners in the state attorney's office now. They have to face putting an enormously complex case together, one that has a jury appeal, one that makes sense to the community, And if I say anything today that prejudices our possible jury pool, I will be forever regretting that. So I
Sheriff.
want to be very careful. Yes, ma'am?
Sheriff and to the state attorney, are we looking at possibly the location of her remains as a bargaining chip in this case?
Well, no, not at this point, unless you'd like to.
I don't ever, the state attorney would not take anything off the table. Obviously, that would be up to Mr. Colton, for the state attorney to make that ultimate decision. And certainly, we would not do anything without speaking with family members first. We certainly don't want to be doing that, but I'm not going to say no. Anything's possible.
Do you feel like you've got a good case at this point?
Yes. I mean, the evidence brought us to these two charges. We followed the evidence. We're not done. The sheriff's office is not done. They've done a tremendous job. Certainly over the last month, the sheriff and his people really worked quite diligently hard. I was there for much of it, as was the sheriff himself. We will, wherever the evidence leads, we will go. This may not be the end of the charges. We have more things to do.
Why do second-degree murder and child neglect? Where do those charges come from?
Well, the evidence, which unfortunately I'm not really at liberty to speak about. I'm, as a prosecutor, bound by certain ethical obligations. I can't really talk about the specific facts, but it's certainly based on the evidence. I can give you the definitions if that's necessary, but it's where the evidence has brought us thus far.
And I know this is a sensitive issue because we are dealing with a young child, but was the child around when this may have occurred?
The question is, it's a sensitive case, and was the child around? The answer is yes.
When the murder happened?
Yes.
Do you know when it happened and where it happened?
Yes.
Does the child recall it?
The child is of such an age that that's not a factor. The child's not even 3.
Can you say where it happened?
I think we will, but not today.
Can you say when it happened?
It happened on the night of her disappearance.
Are you able to say if she suffered?
No.
Can you give us a time frame, that last photo at Publix, between that last photo and when this murder occurred?
Yes, I can refer to that. Yes, that was a very short time later. Within hours, she was dead.
Did you have any evidence before the confession that led you to believe that Tricia Todd was dead?
Yeah, the question is, do we have other evidence? The answer is yes, unequivocally. We have hundreds of hours of video, statements from witnesses. We have a very compelling circumstantial case, and the confession was the final block that we needed to know that we had a strong case.
Does any of the video show him driving her car?
Yes. The question was, does video show driving the car? And the answer is yes.
Sheriff, can you say why second degree, not first degree?
Well, as the Assistant State Attorney just said, it's a matter of definition. First degree, you have to have absolute premeditation, and second degree, you just have to have, I think what the law describes as ill will.
Ill will, spite, hate, depraved mind.
Yeah, so we had all the elements for a second degree. It is our policy in the Sheriff's Office, and we have a very conservative State Attorney's Office. We don't reach above what we think we have. Our philosophy is not to go higher with the idea that we'll negotiate later. We like to charge appropriately, and that's exactly what we did in this case. The evidence, his confession, all point to a very strong case of second-degree murder, and the elements for first-degree murder are just not there at this time.
Was there a fight?
I think we will not. The question is there a fight, and I'll pass on that question.
Sheriff, there have been threats on social media towards Stephen Williams. Will he be in protective custody?
He is currently in the Martin County Jail. We have a very good track record of not losing prisoners or having anybody severely injured, but I appreciate you sharing that with us. Actually, we were aware of it, and our jail major is aware of it, and we will take every step necessary to protect him. I think you all know that for the last year plus or more, we've had an accused cop killer in our jail from the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office. We took great pains to protect him. Our goal here is to see justice done. We have a charge. We think it's the right charge. And our goal now will be to bring Mr. Williams to trial, not to prejudice the jury, and let the the impartial jurors of Martin County have their say. We will not allow any type of injustice to occur to him while he's in our jail.
Did Mr. Williams apologize at all when he gave his statement to detectives?
Yeah, the question is, did he apologize? And I think I'm going to pass on talking about his state of mind during his confession.
And to the community who's been out there tirelessly for the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, so the question is, any comments I have to the community? I cannot tell you how proud I am of the residents of Martin County. I don't know that there's another county in the country where we would have seen the outpouring of support from Facebook and social media to boots on the ground, people going out in the hottest of days. Every time I went home, I know that area, I know Hope Sound. I have a very personal interest in the case. My children actually went to school with Tricia, and I saw the community come out in its fullness and its support, in their prayers, and I think they will continue helping us because the search is not over, and we will begin the search almost over again completely and go over every square inch and push further into the brush and do everything we can to find her remains.
Can you talk about the resources now going into the search? Are you putting even more in now? Are you getting help from other agencies?
I talked about actually putting out a call to the Florida sheriffs to see if I can get some fresh boots on the ground. I think something that her question was, you know, what resources will we use? I mean, clearly we have to continue our jobs here. Cases keep coming in. We picked up a major case last night as we were working on this case, and we have to continue servicing all the calls that come in, investigating every case. So I am going to have to ask for help to get additional resources in here, whether it's forensic academies, other law enforcement agencies, the public, as Jen asked. We'll do everything we can to get all the resources, but we will not stop until we either A, find Tricia's remains, or B, we've exhausted every reasonable hope.
Did he give any location as to where he distributed? Did he say woods, water?
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from that right now. I think it's safe to say it was woods. It was within the areas that we've been looking. He would not be specific.
You say this is a circumstantial case, and from the start you say there's been a lack of physical evidence pointing to an actual crime. At this point, do you have physical evidence showing that she was murdered other than the confession?
The confession?
Do you have blood? Do you have a weapon?
Right. The question is, do we have physical evidence indicating a crime? The answer is some of our evidence is still being analyzed. Some of it will not make sense, so it's all put together. There is no smoking gun. There is no home run, so to speak. But there's video evidence. There is a confession. There's a very strong circumstantial case. There are gross inconsistencies in his initial statements, which only got worse with time. So the case in total, notwithstanding the apparent lack of physical evidence, is a very strong case.
My next question is, I think a lot of people go back to that press conference where you talk about the polygraph test that he did, and I think that raises a lot of questions with people. Well, how did he, you say you can't really pass a polygraph, but you say there was no indication when he did the polygraph. So can you explain that to some people?
That's a good question. I was waiting for that to come up. And the question was, could I deal with my earlier statements about the polygraph? If you all will replay the tape, and we actually have the tape, the question was, did he pass the polygraph? I don't remember how the question was framed. My answer was, he said nothing in the polygraph indicating that he had been involved in a homicide. So if you listen to my words carefully, what you heard me say was, there is no answer on the results of the polygraph. And I'm still not commenting on the answers to the polygraph. I reserve the right, now and always, to say what I have to say throughout any answers I give to further the case. And so how I couch and how I nuance my answers is something that is solely my responsibility, and it worked out to our benefit.
Did he say, has he said since why he, because didn't he offer to take the polygraph? Like why did he do that? Has he told you since?
Your question was, why did he take a polygraph?
Why did he say he would do it? Has he said now?
He has not said why he took the polygraph, but we just know from experience that people trying to get the focus off of them will take chances.
What's his status right now with the Air Force? He's active duty, correct? Do you know how the Air Force is handling
His
this?
question is, what is his status with the Air Force? I think our lieutenant was looking it up.
Can we get back to that in 1 minute? I'll give you an answer.
His status is he's a an airman with the United States Air Force, and he is under the Military Code of Justice, and I am certain there will be some status recommendation. Whatever he did as a United States Airman. And
And for people who haven't been following so closely, Faith, the child, is with the family, is safe, is...
the question is, where is the child? And the child is is being well taken care of. Department of Youth and Families, Children and Families is heavily involved in the case. Obviously, they have an extended family. There's never been a question about the child's welfare.
Any idea on if he had any accomplices during this?
At this point, we have no reason to believe there were accomplices. The question was whether there were accomplices. The answer is no.
Were there violent acts leading up to this between the two of them?
The question is whether there are violent acts leading up to them. There are some past reports of domestic violence. I don't have those reports in front of me, but they're all public record.
Sheriff, can you walk us through his arrest from yesterday? Was he at home? Was he here? Can you walk us through? Did you call him? Did he call you guys?
The question was, can I walk you through the arrest? Our detectives flew to North Carolina, interviewed him. He voluntarily submitted to an interview, said that he would come back and cooperate and help. He was moving towards a confession at that point, and then last night, sometime right around 8:30, he confessed.
How has this impacted you? This is a very difficult case involving a child. How difficult has it been for you all as a sheriff's department?
The question was, how difficult has this been for us as a sheriff's office? You know, of all the crimes that mankind is capable of committing, homicide is the worst. You take a human life, and I've always, this is my own thought, the universe goes out for that one person and ceases to exist. We have to look at every case on its merits, and there is some amount of detaching that we have to do to accomplish our job. My daughter-in-law actually asked me that question this morning. I know the family very well. I know the parents. I know my children went to school. I take everything personal. I take evangelism personal. I'm the sheriff of this county, and I feel an enormous amount of responsibility to protect. And when someone falls prey to something like this, it is very personal. But yet we do our job, and we do it not dispassionately, we do it with a lot of passion, but we get the job done. And if I could say, this is a great time for me to compliment Lieutenant Dougherty and Sergeant Cardet, Detective Dulac, and Detective Oliver. They have worked around the clock. I had a detective so hungry last night that our office manager had to literally go out and get him and force him to eat. These cases, you write a story and then you move to the next story. These detectives have lived this case, breathed this case, woke up with this case, and went to bed with this case from the minute it happened. If it had not been for their tireless and selfless work, and I'm not just saying that, these men have lived this case. I've seen them dressed inappropriately, needing shaves, hungry. They were like lone wolves at some point on the hunt, and it paid off, and we were seeing the beginning of justice in this case. You all have been very kind. I know that some of my questions, I did the best I could. I hope I haven't left you hanging. What I could tell you, I told you. Thank you again for being here, and we'll continue working on this case.